Hello, friends, and welcome back to Scaling Stories. Today, I've got some more highly upvoted posts from Best of Redditor updates for y'all. Like always, I'll be reading you the posts and giving you my opinions, and I'll also be working on building up my Minecraft world at the same time, so I hope you enjoy. Also, I'm currently only in Spotify's creator program, so watching on there would help me out a ton. Thank you so much for your support. Today's first story comes from the Off My Chest subreddit. It was posted by burner account 140226 on February 14th, 2026, and was titled, "My husband spent over $3,000 on World Cup tickets. We can't afford this and I'm furious. I don't need any advice about what to do. I just need to get this out because of how absolutely furious I am. My husband bought 3 tickets for the World Cup, and each one cost over $1,000. I've been furious since I found out. We absolutely cannot afford this, and my husband knows it, but he still bought them. I found out he entered the most recent lottery to get tickets. I have since also found out that it was different from the previous lotteries. Instead of going online and buying tickets right when they went on sale, you had to submit a list of which games you wanted tickets for, and if you won the lottery, you would get the tickets, and your credit card would automatically get charged. Our credit card was charged on Monday, and normally, I get an alert whenever our card is used, but my husband deleted it from my phone before I saw it. I didn't see the charge until 2 days later, and I thought our card was compromised. I found out what the charge was, and I was still going to dispute it because we absolutely can't afford it, but my husband already paid it and confirmed he made that purchase. He took money from our emergency account. We have less than $100 in our emergency account now. Our emergency fund was low already because 2.5 years ago, my husband lost his job and he was out of work for a year. We had to dip into our emergency savings a bunch of times while he was unemployed. He knows what our financial situation is like, and I can't believe he did this. If I didn't have some overtime shifts scheduled over the next 2 weeks, we would not be able to afford our next mortgage payment. I'm furious, and he says I'm overreacting. He says he's taking his dad and his brother to the World Cup because both of their birthdays are the same week as the game. But that doesn't mean we can afford to spend over $3,000. My husband said at least the tickets didn't cost $1,500 each. And he also dropped a bomb on me. He applied for tickets to every game that is being played in our city. And if he had won all the games instead of just one, the total cost would have been over $12,000. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked my husband where we would have gotten that kind of money, and he just said we would figure it out. He tried telling me that Canada has a huge demand for World Cup tickets, so that's why it cost him over $1,000 per ticket. As if that is an explanation for what he did. I can't even explain how furious I am. We have been going to marriage counseling because of how strained things got after my husband got fired, but that's not going to cut it anymore. I have always been the breadwinner in our marriage, and that's never bothered me, but now this stupid decision he made is the last straw. I tried to make it work, but I can't anymore. I'm going to get my ducks in a row and talk to a lawyer before I do anything with our finances. Then I am done with him. He thinks I'm overreacting and that all of this is a big joke. I'm done. Scaling Stories Corner. Yikes. That is a husband who absolutely does not care about his wife in the slightest. I'm pretty sure all this guy saw in OP was a piggy bank that he could financially abuse over and over. Because what do you mean with just these 3 World Cup tickets and OP having to work several overtime shifts that you are just barely able to afford your mortgage? But if all the tickets you tried to buy went through, then you were just going to quote unquote figure it out. Like figure it out how? On the streets? It's just so sad for OP that she's actually legally married to this guy who absolutely has no care about their future. It's unbelievable to me that he was unemployed for over a year and watched his wife carry the household for that entire time. He knows how bad their financial situation used to be, and even now how it's still not the greatest, and he still made such a selfish decision. Like, just absolutely selfish and absolutely single-digit IQ. And the fact that this guy deleted the credit card transaction alert from OP's phone so she wouldn't spot it, this guy is straight up malicious and utter scum. I would be divorcing him without a second thought as well. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "So he's using your money and not even taking you." Yo, I forgot he's not even taking OP! Oh my god. OP says, "I don't watch or follow soccer at all. Even if we could afford tickets, I wouldn't go to a game. I do understand your point, but a ticket would be wasted on me. I would just be bored the entire time. Commenter 2 says, so congratulations on your new and separate bank account to which he does not have access. OP says, I won't be doing that or anything related to our finances until I speak with a lawyer. One of my friends went through a divorce, and her husband faced consequences in court for separating money and withdrawing financial support, and I do not want that to happen to me. I'll only be following advice from my lawyer. Commenter 3 says, sell the tickets on the secondary market. Make a loss into a win. Depending on the match, you could make 2 or 3x. OP says, I don't have the tickets. My husband had them, and I have no idea how I would even access them. Now he's telling me he transferred them to either his dad or his brother. He won't say which one because he doesn't want me to be able to ruin this for them. I'm done with him over this. Commenter 4 says, tell his father about it, if for nothing else but to cause some chaos before you leave. I'm not normal for this, but assuming his father isn't the reason for the way he is, it might end up with your soon-to-be ex-husband learning a real lesson since this clearly isn't getting to him. Maybe you'll even end up with your money back and be rid of the leech who lost it in the first place. OP says his dad doesn't care, and neither does his brother. Commenter 5 says, they can support him now. If it were me, I'd be locking down finances, freezing credit, closing joint accounts, and stashing money in a new account at a bank or credit union he knows nothing about, and I'd do it all quietly. Then, as soon as he leaves for the game, I'd start packing his stuff so he can move it to his dad's or brother's. Financial infidelity is a trust destroyer. You deserve to work for you, not a spongy guy who shows you no respect or appreciation. You're clearly capable. I bet you'll be way better off this time next year. OP says, the World Cup is in June and July. I'm not waiting until then to leave. I'm leaving him now. I'm going to speak to a lawyer and get all my ducks in a row. I want to find out what financial obligations I have toward him before we get divorced. My friend's husband got in trouble for withdrawal of financial support when he left. The court did not like that he did that while they were still married. I don't want that to happen to me, so I need to talk to a lawyer before I do anything with money. I also have to make plans to move because our condo is in both of our names, and I already know I can't force him to leave if he doesn't want to. I will ask the lawyer how to go about that. Commenter 6 says, report it as fraud to your credit card company. OP says, I did. The credit card company said it isn't fraud because my husband already made payment and confirmed it was his purchase. I'm not giving up, but the credit card company won't budge. OP adds an edit to her post. Also, I'm going to turn off chats. I don't need to be called a doormat or other names. I'm not going to marriage counseling anymore, and I'm leaving him. I don't need to hear I'm spineless over and over. I get it. Update 5 months later. I posted 5 months ago, and my update is just a small one, but I have left him and am seeking a divorce. I moved out 4 months ago. We had been going to marriage counseling because of how strained things got after he got fired from his job, for the second time during our marriage. But the World Cup tickets were the nail in the coffin. Before I moved out, he had the gall to complain to me about how we couldn't afford some of his favorites from the grocery store. If it wasn't for me working some overtime, we wouldn't have been able to buy any food at all. I have already hired a lawyer, and since there is no case for a fault divorce, I have to be separated from him for a year in order to get a divorce. Although my lawyer said the only thing filing on a fault ground does is forego the 1-year waiting period, it doesn't affect the settlement or the division of assets. I may have to pay some spousal support since I was the higher earner, but it's a small price to pay for being rid of him. He doesn't want a divorce. He asked me to stay and continue marriage counseling. He still went to the game 3 months after I left, while also telling me I should stay. Also, to address some things from my first post that kept coming up. His dad and brother did not care about him spending our emergency fund on the tickets. His dad, his brother, and his friends thought he was right. We all live in the city where the game was played. No one would have to get a flight or a hotel. I don't watch soccer, and even if we could have afforded tickets, I wouldn't have gone to a game. My anger was about him draining our emergency fund. It wasn't about me not being invited to the game. Instead of going online and buying tickets right when they went on sale, you had to submit a list of which games you wanted tickets for, and if you want tickets to any games you applied for, your credit card would automatically get charged. He applied to tickets to every game that is being played in our city, and if he had won tickets to all of the games instead of just one, the total cost would have been over $12,000. This was enough to tell me that our marriage was over. I'm following the advice of my lawyer regarding finances and will not be fully withdrawing financial support, as many comments in my first post suggested. I don't want to face consequences in the divorce proceedings and will follow my lawyer's guidance on how to proceed, no matter how much the comments double down on what I should do. As I mentioned in my first post, I'm leaving my messages off because I don't need more people to call me spineless or to keep telling me I didn't leave him the correct way. ScalingStories Corner. I think OP is doing the best thing she can by following the advice of her lawyer. She's already committed to leaving this guy, and she just needs to bide her time to be free of this leech completely. And also, by the way, this leech is absolutely hilarious. Like, hilariously sad and also, like, self-aware. Because he has the nerve to ask OP to still go to marriage counseling, even while blowing away all their money on the World Cup tickets and still going to them. But I'm not surprised because I'm certain that he knows he's been taking advantage of OP, and he's just hoping OP is stupid enough to listen to him so he can stall for more time in which he can spend more and more of OP's money. And it's also no surprise that his dad, his brother, and all of his friends think that he's in the right, because garbage surrounds itself with garbage, and they're all garbage for thinking he's in the right. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, I'm confused about why they're calling you spineless when you're literally standing up to your husband. I'm glad that you're leaving him. Commenter 2 says, proud of you. Truly galling how he and his boys could not see the wrong and the hurt in this. Your last comment nearly broke me. What you are doing is so hard. Wishing you only the best as you navigate out of this. One day, it'll be a painful memory and then just a story. Good luck. Okay, friends, so that concludes our first story of the day. Next up, we have a story from the Relationships subreddit. It was posted by a deleted user on May 8th, 2014, and was titled, I, 25 male, missed my girlfriend, 22 female, of 2 years mom's funeral because of finals week, and now she wants a break from this relationship. I'm going to school about 7 hours away from where my girlfriend lives. Her mother recently passed away after a short illness. The morning that it happened, my girlfriend called me to tell me about it, and I dropped everything, took the first available bus down to see her, and stayed for almost a week. The next week, this one, is my finals week, and I had a final exam on the day of the funeral, yesterday. I made it clear that I would be unable to attend, as I had already lost a week of study/writing time. She said, I understand. I come back up to my school and start applying for jobs in her area so I can live there over the summer. I get a phone interview and set up an in-person interview for this coming Tuesday, which means another 7-hour overnight bus ride. Meanwhile, we were texting every day and we Skype once. I notice she is less talkative than usual and is saying I love you less often. I ask her about 3 times over Skype if there's anything she would like to talk about, and she always says no, so I chalk it up to depression over the death of her mother. I get worried and start looking up ways I can support her, and most articles I read just say to make sure to be there for her in the long run. I apologize several times for not being able to make it to the funeral, and every time she just says, I understand. Yesterday, she messaged me in the morning saying, you should be here. I again apologized, saying I would if I could. She replied, you could be. I would have done anything to be there for you. I started to freak out a bit and explained that I was already stressed because of the chunk I had to take out last week and the amount of money I had just spent on bus tickets for the interview, and she told me not to come down for the interview because she needs a break from this relationship and I don't want to see you. I sent a wall of text, profusely apologizing and explained that I didn't realize it was that important to her that I be there and that I only hoped she could forgive me someday, and her only response was, I will never forgive you for this. Now, she has been ignoring me, and I am at a complete loss as to what to do. I just want to talk it over in person, but she told me not to come down. Help. ScalingStories Corner. So this situation kinda sucks because I understand where OP's girlfriend's anger is coming from, and I think it's because she's overcome with grief. And grief can do a lot to a person, physically, emotionally, and mentally. So she's really going through it, and I feel for her. And yet at the same time, I think she was being a little bit unfair to OP. And I'll try to explain my thought process. So for OP, this relationship is long distance, and that really blows if you're in a situation like this where your partner needs support from you like right now. But to his credit, the literal day of when his girlfriend's mom passed away, he dropped everything to go to his girlfriend and stayed for a week to comfort her. And I think that says a lot that he did care about and did make an effort to be there for his girlfriend. So then next week, he has to study for his finals and actually take his finals. And that matters a lot for his future in regards to his future career and employment. So it makes sense to me that, of course, he can't come to the funeral. And I also don't think the girlfriend's family should delay the funeral just because OP has his final, because OP is obviously not the most important person in relation to his girlfriend's family. So he has to miss the funeral for the sake of his schooling. He also calls around and schedules interviews so he can work in the area where his girlfriend lives so he can be with her longer. And he posted on a Thursday and was able to get an interview scheduled for Tuesday, so he would be with her again in 3 to 4 days. To me, that says OP is making a lot of effort and planning to be around his girlfriend, but she's mad at him for not being there right at that very moment, which I understand and is also understandable because she's extremely sad from her mother passing away. I will say that I think OP messed up omega bad by saying he didn't realize how important it was for him to be there for his girlfriend. Because that statement is just completely baffling. Like, what do you mean you didn't realize? You know she's been depressed and sad from texting her daily and being on Skype with her. So, of course you know it's important to her, but you also had priorities in your own life and you chose that over it. Unfortunately, I do think this is a relationship ender. And I think that's part of the difficulty of a long distance relationship because it's harder to just drop your life to support your partner if the only way to them is a 7-hour bus ride. I think if I was OP, I would try to see if I could still talk with the girlfriend until the day before the interview. And if things are still bad, then I would skip the bus ride and not go to the interview. Because you shouldn't see your girlfriend if she says to not show up and that like she needs space. That would be wrong and kind of breaking a boundary. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, "It was extremely heartless of you to bring up the cost of bus tickets and lost time from studying at a time when your girlfriend's mother died. Why would she care about such things? This relationship is probably over. When she said, 'You should have been here,' you should have said, 'I know and I wish I could have.' Bringing up the bus ticket cost and the fact that you lost a week of studying was beyond tacky. And did you ask your professor if you could take it a little early? Your girlfriend probably feels unvalued, and I don't know if this is something that can be fixed. Grief is a terrible thing, and this might just be the end of your relationship, for better or worse." Yo, just hopping in real quick because the cost of the bus tickets thing. I forgot about that because there was just so much to talk about before. But the way I saw it for the cost of the bus tickets, it is kind of like tacky to bring it up. The way I saw it and the reason why I thought OP brought it up was because I imagined OP was in like a situation where he was spreading himself thin to afford these bus tickets to go see his girlfriend. And that's why he brought it up as a point of view of him trying to show her like, look, I'm paying for these bus tickets even though it's extremely hard on me financially to come see you. Like, that's how much I care. Commenter 2 says, "And explaining I didn't realize it was that important to her that I be there. ... Her mother just died. The fact that you told her you didn't realize that it was important for you to be there probably hurt more than the fact that you weren't. You should have realized that support for her during this time was damn important, even if you literally couldn't offer it in the way she wanted. You couldn't help not being there, man, and it was a crappy situation for you. But, honestly, complaining to her about money and travel time and saying, 'I didn't realize it was that important,' in response to her being upset? Bad move. Her mother just died. She was unfair, saying you should have been there when you had a final. But, again, her mother just died. This is one of the rare situations where you allow someone to be temporarily irrational and unfair and apologize profusely from the start until they're feeling more balanced. And you certainly don't start talking about the cost of tickets or say anything about how you didn't think it was important. It's likely that she would have understood better, with time, that you truly couldn't be there, but you made it so much worse with how you responded to her about it all. The way you responded is probably why she needs a break and why this might not work out, not the fact that you weren't there. Dude, frowny face. All you can do now is give her some time and cross your fingers really hard that she's able to forgive and forget what you said. Not all of us are good in a crisis. Crap happens." Commenter 3 says, Sorry, but if my significant other didn't move heaven and earth to be with me if my mom suddenly died, I'd never want to see him again. OP adds an edit to his post. Since many people are asking, the only available time to rearrange the final was Tuesday morning, when I had to devote Monday to working/studying for a different final. In hindsight, I should have just crammed as much as possible and taken whatever grade I got. The major point is that it would be at least 2 days out of the week, when I still have one more final tomorrow and several more papers to write. Update 4 months later. A bit of time has gone by since I posted the original, and I've had a few requests to update the situation. The reason I hadn't done so was because things were still in flux. Final decisions have been made, and so I'm closing the case. A forewarning, I have omitted several details. Some have been removed or censored for privacy. Some have been omitted due to shame on my part. I'm going to try to be honest, but honestly, I effed up. Please be kind. I don't really deserve it, but believe me, anything bad you can think about me or an insult to say to me, I've already done to myself. TLDR of the original. I missed the funeral of my partner's mother to take a final exam. She was understandably hurt and upset and wanted a break. I was going to take a bus down to Milwaukee to apologize in person and try to repair things. So, I told her I was going to bus down to see her, and I hoped she would be at the station to get me. Otherwise, I would take the next bus back. As a reminder, this weekend that I wanted to be there for was Mother's Day, which I knew was going to be really difficult. I figured it was better to be there and be not wanted than to not be there and be needed. She responded and said she would be there. Long story short, I stayed for a few days, during which time we talked about things a few times. I was under the impression that the situation was improving, but just before I left on the bus back to school, she told me in no uncertain terms that she wasn't sure about our relationship right now, and she was still really hurt. I leave. Time passes. She travels to the UK with her family to have a memorial service there, and she ends up staying there for several weeks to care for her aging nan, Grandma. We talk on the phone a few times. I found a UK calling plan for super cheap, and Skyped a few times. I tried to stay positive for her because she was pretty depressed, and she seemed very distant, not just geographically. I tried to not talk to her about any of my feelings and anxieties of our relationship because I didn't want to burden her. Instead, I wrote her a journal. Anytime I wanted to talk to her about something, I wrote her a letter in this journal. I had bought her two for her birthday, so we could both have one for just such a purpose. One day, finally, I asked her why she was so distant. She told me that she was still really hurting and feeling betrayed. I read her the letters I had written her. She thanked me for that, and we ended our conversation on ostensibly better terms. She flew back to the States, and we continued to do our long-distance thing. She was getting more and more distant, and I was writing her more and more letters. Then one day, she gets drunk and messages me a bunch of really lovey messages, stuff she hasn't said to me since before her mom died. A few hours of that, though, the tone gets a lot more somber, and then suddenly, she tells me she doesn't think she can do this relationship anymore. I ask her why, and she says because she's not sure about the 2 years apart thing. She's still upset about the funeral, and her family doesn't like me. She apologized later and said her family doesn't not like me, but ... I was supposed to be visiting the coming weekend, but she told me not to come. She was going to be visiting my school town. She graduated the year before, to see some friends, and we were going to go to a wedding together in about 10 days. Long story short, it's almost over, I promise. She visits. She has second thoughts about breaking up. We go to this wedding. She agrees to give our relationship another go. We have a great time together. Except, and here is the part where I get real crappy, she asks me if there is anything I'm hiding because I cheated on her when... What? Because I cheated on her when we first started dating and lied to her about smoking weed. I know, seriously, I know. And I tell her that I had told what is essentially her deepest, darkest secret to a friend. I obviously can't tell you what this secret is, but it affected both of us, though it affected her the most, and it was deep and it was dark. She takes it really well, and we continue on. A while later, she texts me and asks if I told anyone else her deepest, darkest secret. I told her I had also told one of my roommates. You know what? Go ahead. Be mean. I deserve it. She got pretty upset for a few days, but seemed to forgive me. I visited her once and then shortly after visited her again with a couple of friends. The latter time, she was pretty distant, and she had been over text and Skype as well. A few days after that, she texted me and asked how I thought the relationship was going. I told her it was cold, but it felt like it was improving and asked what she thought. She didn't respond, so I asked if she wanted to Skype, and she said yes. We Skyped, and, unsurprisingly, we ended it. She said she wanted to be with me and loved me, but she was just so angry about all the betrayal. She said I had been the perfect boyfriend for the last few weeks, and the relationship was healing, but she wasn't. We are attempting to be friends right now. It's been about 2 weeks. She really wants to be friends, and I really want to be more than friends. She tried really hard to stay with me and forgive me, so I owe her at least an attempt at being just friends. I'm confident that this relationship is over, so I guess I'm not really asking for relationship advice, except maybe, should I try to be friends with her? ScalingStories Corner. Yo, okay, so just the original post with from OP, I do maintain what I was thinking before, that OP was just in a tough situation between two different priorities in his life, and it was a really tough situation for a long distance relationship. But with this update, holy crap. OP is the omega massive jerk, because what was this random, actually, honey, I cheated on you when we first started dating. Like, what was that? And she forgives him for that? And then next he says he leaked her deepest, darkest secret? And okay, that's bad enough. But what do you mean you didn't even confess to everything when she asked for it? Because she asked again later if he had told anyone that secret. And he's like, oh, oopsie me. I actually told my roommate about it too. Like, red flag. This guy is a bad man. This is not a good boyfriend. I feel so bad that this girl even wants to still be friends with this douchebag, because he is honestly such utter crap. And it's no wonder he deleted his account, because he must have gotten eviscerated in the comments. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, "You sound like a complete CNT. Saying mea culpa after cheating on her, lying to her about a drug habit, and sharing a deepest, darkest secret with loads of people, and then trickle-truthing it back to her doesn't somehow exonerate you. She is better off without you. She shouldn't attempt to be friends. She should go zero contact. I can't even imagine what details you are leaving out due to shame, because the details you have already given us paint you as a horrible person." Commenter 2 says, "I never would have gone through my mom dying if it hadn't been for my significant other. She needed you, and you've done nothing but add more stress and pain for this poor girl. Don't you dare try and be her friend. You sent her a final message apologizing for all your crappy behavior, and I mean all of it, and you leave her the F alone. Read your journal and reflect on how selfish you really are. Christ almighty." Commenter 3 says, "At what point were you ever the perfect boyfriend? A stupid mistake is when you let the soup boil over. It's not when you make the conscious decision to betray your partner. The very best thing that you can do for her is vanish entirely from her life." Okay, friends, so that concludes today's video. Leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.